Well, thank you for joining us. It's great to be here. We're going to talk tonight about a universal that applies to couples. We call it the look. Now, let me give you a backdrop. So, I'm going to start off sounding like I'm smart, but in ways that I'm not. I want to talk about chaos theory. Here's what I know about chaos theory. In any system, physical or social system, the more complex the system, the more likely it is that most of the action is driven by relatively few, relatively simple rules. When I read that, and that's all I know about chaos theory, when I read that many years after starting practice as a clinical psychologist and a marriage family therapist, it dawned on me that's what the look is. Now, going back 44 years ago, my wife Mary and I were talking one day, and Mary and I were partners in practice forever, about the fact that you can almost diagnose a couple just based on the looks they give each other. And it dawned on me, those looks reflect the entire marital journey. My first job, I was on the faculty at Wake Forest at the medical school and was supported by this world-class grant to do premarital counseling for people. Because if you do good premarital counseling, you give people the right roadmaps, they really are more likely to dodge the divorce bullet. Well, that's when I first noticed the look. These people would come in with this look of love, like, oh my goodness, everything about you, it just enthralls me. You're so cute, you're so cute, you're cute. And I'd be thinking, I hate both of you. But they were looking at it. They was like trying to do counseling with brain compromised people because we're in so much love. Truly, infatuation affects what we see. The neuroscientists have shown, and it increases the odds that what we see when we look is stuff that we selectively perceive as a look of love, and we see what we need to see and be how we need to be to create the illusion of oneness or of harmony. Now, eventually, that look drifts into a look of confusion because there is no perfect person, there is no perfect couple. And we marry thinking the two of us together are going to make one whole person. I'm shy, you're outgoing. I don't have to overcome my shyness. You just love me into completion. My first family hurt me. Your family's so loving. The two of us together make one whole person. You complete me. But we get confused by the fact that which attracted us starts to aggravate us, actually, if you know how to ask the question. And the look starts shifting. Now, this look that you see here in this couple, that's actually Mary and me the day after we got married. And that look of confusion on my face, both my children, our grown daughters, have this picture, a copy of this picture in their homes. And Mary and I laugh at it because the way I look in that picture, that confused young man and this woman just laughing away, that characterizes how I feel most of the time. I don't have any idea what the hell she's talking about half the time. But I've learned to listen attentively and fix my face so I seem to know what she's talking about a lot of times. Now, eventually, that look of inquisitiveness, like, wait a minute, this is not going exactly like I thought it was going, turns into, for a lot of couples, into a look of irritation. And that's when the dramas begin. You know, we go through those first years of infatuation where the two of us together make one whole person, you complete me. And then we start waking up and realize not only do you not complete me, you aggravate the hell out of me. And in fact, that which attracted me starts to repel me. And we start getting this, okay, here we go again look. Somebody's repeating the same story that I've heard too many times, or they're trying to change me in some ways. And we start hearing then things like, early in the relationship, Mary and I call it the before marriage, after marriage shuffle. Before marriage, when we're giving each other the benefit of the doubt, you're so talkative and outgoing, it makes me feel passionate and alive. After marriage, you'd be thinking, why don't you ever shut up, for God's sake? Talk. I'm trying to watch the Olympics here. Can't you wait for the commercial or something, right? Or Before marriage, your family is so sweet and loving. After marriage, you'll be thinking, don't they have a call before they drop over? Don't you people know about boundaries? So the looks start to shift at that stage of life where there's some power struggles happening. And the danger is if you get that indifference look. You get that really, I'm feeling kind of disgusted with you look. That's when we really start needing to pay attention to exactly what happens next, because if we don't watch out, then we get the, all right, let's have it out look. We're going to have a battle royale with each other look. And we get that stormy period that every couple knows about. We're either in it now, or we've visited occasionally, or we have been there before. Now, if you mismanage it, you get the shutdown look. And that's that dead face. I mean, we can always work with a couple who comes in activated and they're yapping and they're bickering because they've got some juice, they've got some energy. It's when you get that stone face look, much less if it's time two in a couple, that's a real danger zone if that's the kind of look that you're getting. Now, if you're lucky, the journey continues, you work your way through the storms, and you get to that, hey, I'm remembering you now look. And people turn sweet again. And they realize sometimes after decades of struggling, trying to change the other person, you tend to get happier midlife and beyond, 50-ish and beyond. And the reason is not that finally I got other people to change into my likeness and being. It's that with humility, I realized I ain't such a piece of cake myself. And we switch into gratitude. We switch into, I'm grateful for you hanging in here with me. The very stuff I used to complain so much to you about you. You spend too much time with those kids, not enough time with me. I realized if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have a relationship with my children or grandchildren. All you do is work and you don't spend enough time with me. I realized if you hadn't been willing to work so hard, we wouldn't have what we have. Now, what is this about? Well, it's about the natural phenomenology, the way things play out in time and space, in the journey that is a long-term relationship journey, a marriage family journey. It's also about so often overcorrecting or trying for the wrong stuff as we move forward. If it goes south. If it goes in the right direction, it's about, with humility, re-examining some of my mental maps and some of my attributions that I'm making. When we're distressed, one of the things we do is what psychology types call a fundamental error of attribution. If other people are not acting the way I think they should act, there's no place this happens more than in marriage. If you're not acting the way I think you should act, I slay your character. It's because you're not loving me enough. It's because you don't care enough. But we attribute our own behavior to circumstances. I'm just speaking like this because the circumstance frustrates me. You're not responding the way I want you to because you don't love me enough. As we move forward in examining the look, it's important, I think, for us to think in terms of how do we update our mental maps in light of a couple of notions. The meaning of my communication is the response I'm getting. If you're getting the wrong looks, it may be that you're married to a person who is not a good person. Unlikely. Far more likely, you're getting a response to the way you're approaching that person. This is a more pragmatic way to think about it. It's sort of like the first 90 things to do is take a look at your steps in the dance that you're going through with your partner in response to the look. Now, Mary has a great concept. Mary thought of this years ago. If you want to know who you are to the people you love, and incidentally the people you work with, notice the looks in their eyes. At those nanoseconds when you walk in the room and you notice that they notice that it's you who just walked in. You know that look I'm talking about? That you walk in and people are looking down and they look up and notice you. Y'all make eye contact for that fleeting moment. What do the looks in the eyes of other people in your life tell you about who you are to your people? the ones you love, the ones you work with? Do you see looking back when they see that it's you, a look of relief? Oh, goodness, thank goodness, our hero just got here. Our safe space just walked in. A hard time just got better. Do you see looking back a look of excitement? Yes, a good day just got better. You just showed up with all your grace and all your energy. Or do you see looking back a skitterishness or disdain or shutdown or, oh goodness, or eye rolling or any of those other looks? My encouragement in the time we have is going to be for you to really pay attention to the looks. Pay attention to the looks you're given, but also pay attention to the looks you're getting. And to move beyond any errors of attribution that slay people's character and then create barrier labels between you and them, and into a place of inquisitiveness. Now let's examine some of what your mental maps are about. We'll do it in a fun way, I hope, doing our marriage IQ test. How much do you know about marriage and what differentiates those who thrive from those who do not thrive? So just real quickly off the top of your head, if you will, either jot down your answers or answer out loud. True or false? One of the most reliable and powerful predictors of a happy marriage is loving each other. You think that's true or false? The answer is patently false. Everybody loves each other when they get together. And in fact, most people love each other when they're in their marriages. And to put it in context, let's bear in mind, the journey is a hard journey. Of all the people who get married this weekend, 98% of them are going to say they love each other desperately. They found their soulmate, you complete me, and all that stuff. The other 2%, we're not sure what they're doing, but most, but they get married anyway. But before it's over, if current statistics continue, trends continue, 49% of those people are going to end up getting divorced. Of the people who get divorced, over 80% of individuals who are divorcing, both couple members say they still love each other. What happened? They lost their friendship because of not paying attention to the looks or indiscriminately giving out the wrong looks, I would say, apropos of our topic tonight. It's not lack of love, it's lack of friendship that makes for an unhappy marriage. Nietzsche said that. I don't want y'all to think I read philosophy. Alphonse Nietzsche said that in South Louisiana, in Thibodaux, Louisiana, one night when he was drunk. And I wrote it down on a napkin, and I said, Alphonse, that's profound. You know, the philosopher Nietzsche really did say that, and research really does bear it out, that the lack of friendship is the primary culprit for messing up marriages. One of the reasons that we mess it up is the misattributions we make. That is, when other people behave in ways that we don't like, we jump to conclusions about them. So I'll give you an example of an attribution error. All of us good old boys from South Louisiana, went to LSU. That was certainly true in my family. My brother Glenn and I lived together and went to LSU. Our cousin Bonadonna wasn't smart enough to go to college, but he loved Glenn and me, so he always lived across the street from us, wherever we lived. And he'd hang around and tag around. He was like an old dog. He just hung around with us all the time. And LSU is this huge campus. It's got a bus system that gets you from one side of the campus to the next. You got 12 minutes to change classes. And there'll be 100 students in line, and a big bus comes up, and you got to get on the bus, you got to get going, you got to get off the bus. So one day, this is back in the early 70s, I was standing third in line in the bus line. Bonadonna was in front of me, second in line, and this young woman with a long, tight skirt was first in line, waiting for the bus. Well, and behind me were like 80 people, other students. So the bus rolled up, everybody disembarked, then it was time for us to get on the bus. The young woman kept trying to get on the bus, but her skirt was so long and tight, she couldn't raise her leg. So she tried going up and she couldn't, and then everybody's munning. She tried going this way, she couldn't get, she tried going this way. Finally, everybody was complaining. Bonadonna got all excited, and the woman finally tried, unzipped once, she tried again, unzipped twice, tried to zip, unzipped the third time, tried to get on the bus. Finally, Bonadonna, thinking he was helping her, picked her up and put her on the bus. The woman turned around, slapped his face, said, don't you get fresh with me. He said, fresh with you, lady. You just unzipped my zipper 3 times. You have to pay attention to your attribute. When your partner doesn't do what you thought they were going to do, calm down. True or false? One of the biggest predictors of marital happiness is resolving your life issues, your marriage issues, like work-family imbalance. Answer, false. Most of our things that we struggle with in marriage are not problems that have solutions. They're paradoxes. Paradoxes are things that have at least 2 right answers involving 2 or more people. And they matter a bunch, and they persist across time. So I'm a morning person, Mary's a night person. Who's right, who's wrong? Oh, these children or grandchildren need more discipline. No, they need more nurturance. Who's right, who's wrong? Those are paradoxes. There's a perspective, oh, we work hard, we should spend our money. No, we should save our money. Those are paradoxes. So the typical happily married couple, 2 statistics to bear in mind. We have on average, the most happily married couples married 25 years or more, research has shown, we have on average 12 chronic unresolved issues that we aggravate each other to death with on a regular basis. That's the happily married ones of us. Now, I can see some of you out there, you're counting on your fingers. If you can only get 3, text me the address or the phone number of your spouse. I'll get the other 9 for you. I guarantee you. I'll bet you $1,000 I get the other 9. It's a matter of how you ask the questions. Here's another interesting thing. People married more than 35 years. The most happily married people in the country married more than 35 years. We tend to squabble about the same stuff we squabbled about in the first 3 years of our relationship. Now, as we get older, we get happier because we squabble less ferociously. We freak out less. But we still have the same issues. Mary and I were laughing about this one last year. It was our 42nd or 43rd wedding anniversary, I can't remember. And we were going to have a big date. It was on a Tuesday, and so we went out to lunch. We were going to go to our lake house. We were going to have romance. We got in a squabble on the way to the lake house, right? And it's like, we were laughing. Eventually, we're not the exception in any of the rules. So what do we know? We know that in the first years of relationship, you young couples, you think you're going to love it out of them. No, you're not. You're going to learn to, hopefully you love some of it out of them, right? But the way it tends to go is this. If in the first few years of your relationship, somebody's organized, somebody's sloppy, 40 years later, guess what? Somebody's still organized, somebody's sloppy. First few years, somebody wants to spend money, 40 years later, guess what? First, early on, somebody's introverted, somebody extrovert. 40 years later, early in a relationship, somebody's got this much sex drive, the other one got that much sex drive. 40 years later, guess what? Trust me, this one got this much sex drive, that one got that much sex drive. It's proportionate. That's what we were fighting about. It's proportionate. It's the same old story, right? So it is not true that what distinguishes most happily married couples is we resolve all of our issues. It is not true. What is true is we manage our differences in some different ways. Now, let's continue the journey. True or false? One of the biggest predictors of marital stability and happiness is becoming parents. Now, the answer to that one is tricky because becoming parents increases meaning, and I'm not implying that you've got to be parents in order to have a happy marriage. But the other factor, this is like the psychological underbelly of life. It's always the case. We have many variables, some contradict but don't cancel each other. More than one thing can be true at once, even if it contradicts. Becoming a parent increases meaning and tends to keep people from bolting as quickly. But becoming a parent really does diminish fun for obvious reasons. During those child rearing, lack of energy, lack of privacy, and so forth. If you get through the stressful child rearing years, blessed with the meaning of having raised a family, it really does benefit intimacy. But in the short run, it's a diminishment of fun for a lot of couples to be expected. It's one of those things we've got to be able to communicate about. Now, this gets to another question, true or false. One of the biggest predictors of marital happiness is the quality of your communication with each other. Without question, that one is true. With some caveats. Let's understand, you don't communicate away all of your problems. Remember, 12 chronic unresolved issues, married 35 years or more, you're going to have some of the same stuff. The things to avoid are the misattributions. Oh, if I have to tell you, it doesn't count. Well, if you don't tell me, I'm not going to get it. Right? So those are your two choices. That doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I don't understand. Remember my picture of me confused? It's not because I don't love Mary. It's that I'm confused a lot of times. I don't understand what are you asking me you want the thermostat on or off? When you say, oh, you comment on the temperature in the room. I'm not quite sure what that means. One time I was seeing this couple, and this is what happened. The guy basically said this, look, let me tell you something. I am sick and tired of X, Y, and Z, and you better start giving me some 1, 2, and 3. And the woman said, hell no. Talk to me like that. And I was thinking, oh my Lord, I got to teach this guy how to communicate. So a marriage therapy technique, they said, why don't I have some individual sessions with each of you, then we'll get back together. So I saw the guy and the woman and separately, and then in my session with the guy, I said, let's talk about communicating. When you say things the way you said them, I'm sick and tired of A, B, and C, don't just jump to talking about I want 1, 2, and 3. First of all, ask for permission. Are you open to some feedback? So she'll lower her defenses. Number 2, state what the problem is, A, B, and C you don't want, but then talk about your underlying intentions. What you would prefer is element OP. So therefore, you have this request, 1, 2, and 3. And he rehearsed it, and he actually got it. So we got back together, couples in my office, and at some point the guy says, darling, are you open to some feedback? The woman was like hit by a train. She said, what? He said, are you open to some feedback? And she said, yeah, where's my husband? She said, yes, I am open to feedback. He said, when you do A, B, and C, I know we've talked about this before, but what I've never talked about is what I feel is element OP. And what I really would prefer is 1, 2, and 3. And she said, I cannot believe it. All these years, I never understood what this is about. Thank you for explaining. The answer is still hell no, but I understand you better now. So communication is crucial for dealing with your 12 chronic unresolved issues, but it's not necessarily going to resolve your 12 issues. It's important because otherwise you feel like you got double-crossed. It's also important to not assume that you know what your partner wants, because people will surprise you sometimes if you really just listen to them. My sister-in-law, Jeannie, was leaving a movie theater and she got robbed in Baton Rouge not long ago. The guy stuck a gun in and said, give me all your money. And it terrified her. And she was coming out of the movie. She said, I don't have any money. I spent all my money in the movie. He said, I don't believe you. Give me all your money. And she said, I don't have any. He said, let me see your purse. And he got his purse. And she said, all I got is $3.12. And he went through that and he said, you got $3 in this purse. She said, I told you, I don't have any money. He said, let me frisk you. He frisked her from the front. He frisked her from the back. He turned around. He frisked her some more. He said, you got to have some more money. Let me frisk you. He frisked her in the front, frisked her in the back. He said, I can't believe you don't have money. He gave her her purse back. She said, I told you I don't have any money. But if you frisk me again, I'll write you a check. So you don't always know what people want until you ask them what they want, right? Speaking of communication, true or false, these days we've normalized this so much. While we're communicating or having our date, a real quick check of our text messages or email has no negative effect on your relationship. Answer, of course, is false. Multitasking diminishes performance on par with being drunk, no matter what it is you're trying to do. The neuroscience of this is indisputable. For the purposes of our talk, just remember this. Multitasking is anti-foreplay, and that's all I'll say about it. Mary routinely, I don't have my phone, but routinely it says to me as we're having a date, you want to have a date with me tonight or Susie Q? That's what she calls my iPhone. So it's very important to create a context that gives communication a chance. True or false? We learned 80% of what we need to know about each other during the first 3 to 5 years of our relationship journey. True or false? The answer is true if you want to live semi-miserably ever after. But if you really want to have a dynamic marriage, you've got to have an inquisitive growth mindset. Growth mindset is a key to resilience for any of us. I'm interested in understanding something new about myself and about the world and about the people in it. And it sure is a distinguishing feature for getting beyond the looks that otherwise would create the barrier labels that would shut us down. True or false? A distinguishing feature of a thriving marriage is a 50-50 split of the various tasks and responsibilities we have. And the answer to this one is false. At any point in time, there's more than 100% of stuff to do. This is so important, particularly for young couples who are on that journey where you're juggling everything at once in terms of raising a family and often multiple careers. The fact that you've done your best and there's still a lot left undone doesn't mean your spouse is not doing their best. It means there's more to do than the two of you can do together. The most important question is one of fairness. Do you get and give stuff of equivalent value? Am I getting a fair deal? And am I giving my partner a fair deal? I may be giving different stuff. I maybe give tolerance and love and compassion, and you give more money. Or it may be that I give more money and you give more patience in raising the kids than I have. So it's very, very important to routinely ask yourself and each other, are you getting a fair deal? And how might we modify things so that you are getting a good deal? True or false? One of the biggest predictors of long-term marital happiness is a good sex life. Absolutely true. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's hanging from the chandeliers. We have to be realistic about what a good sex life means at different stages. But one of the things that's useful to think about is it's easier to talk about this and not sound sexist if Mary's presenting with me, that which comes first, good communication or good sex? Well, for decades, marital therapists like us who tend to be more feminine in a sense, in terms of feminine and masculine Jungian kind of psychology, we're more communication oriented. Well, if you communicate really well, it'll make sex better. No, practicing communicating teaches you to communicate better. It doesn't teach you to have sex better. The way you learn to have sex better is to have sex more and learn from it. Just like, communicating doesn't teach you to play ping pong better. You got to practice playing ping pong if you want to, that kind of stuff. So attending to your sexual relationship realistically is a really, really important thing. Now, true or false, marital sex is less fun than sex when you're single. Without question, the best sex is with people with whom you've practiced, which means people almost always report, even people who have had affairs report, the best sex is with my partner. It's to be appreciated, it's to be cherished, it's to be protected, your sexual relationship. Well, here's another, true or false. Our sex life improves when the nest empties, once the last kid leaves home. Well, think about it this way. If the day before your last child leaves home, you cannot play the piano, the day they go to college, you're still not going to be able to play the piano. So the best predictor of the quality of your sex life when the nest empties is going to be the quality of your sex life while the children are still at home. Now, I understand you have more privacy, it'll be less stress and so forth. That's true. But that's not necessarily going to make your sex life better. Well, here's another question then. True or false, that if you try really hard and do the right stuff, aging sexual response is the same as youthful sexual response? And the answer to that, of course, is false. Sex is an exercise-based response. You don't play tennis the same intensity. You don't jog the same intensity or whatever it is. We got to make adjustments and make modifications. Here's where we get into trouble oftentimes. True or false? When an aging couple starts to shut down sexually, most often it's the woman who withdraws from sex. Without question, the answer to that is false. Almost 80% of the time it's the man. Because men get overly attentive to performance changes, and their performance changes are more obvious than women's performance changes. And men tend to adopt the kind of boneheaded notion, why start something I can't finish? Subtext, the way I finished when I was 28 years old. Well, you don't do anything like you did when you were 28 years old. You got to make modifications. Now, couples need to make modifications too in the looks we give each other. So, Bonadonna told his wife recently, when I get in the shower and ask, do you want me to wash your back? Just say yes or no. Skip that part that says, who are you and how'd you get in here? We got to give each other the benefit of the doubt. We also got to make modifications. It's not the same as youthful sex, right? Tina Bonadonna and Johnny Bonadonna had their 45th wedding anniversary, and Tina thought tonight might be a romance night, and she had some nice new night clothes and all this stuff, and she took a shower, and it was early in the evening. She went in the den. Johnny Bonadonna was snoring like crazy in the chair. She said, Johnny, used to be not too so long ago, if it's our anniversary, we used to go to bed early, yeah. He said, oh yeah, Tina, I forgot about that, it's our anniversary. Come on, let's go to bed early. They get in the bed, as soon as he got in the bed, he starts snoring again. She hit him, she said, Johnny, used to be not so too long ago, on our anniversary, we go to bed early. You'd hug and kiss me a little bit, yeah. He said, oh yeah, baby, come here, let me give you a little kiss. He fell asleep on her shoulder. She knocked him off and said, Johnny Bonadonna, used to be not so long ago, on our anniversary, if I wear something like this, we go to bed like this, you kiss me a little bit, then you nibble on my neck a little bit. He jumped up, he started running. She said, where you going, Johnny? He said, where I'm going to look for my teeth. You got to make modifications as you age. Okay, true or false, having good friends who support your marriage is a predictor of long-term marital happiness. Without question, the answer to this one is true. This is why it's so great to have a place like the Foundation and the great benefactors who support programs like this. That say, you know what, this business of the marriage family journey is one of the more important journeys for all of us. Because marriage family ill-being or well-being correlates with health, with happiness, and with a joy in our lives, or the opposite of those things, if we don't have the right roadmaps that allow us to manage ourselves each step along the way. So let me be serious for a moment. Okay, that's enough of that. So what happened was, Bonadonna and Tina were upstairs. His wife's name was Tina. We were upstairs one time, and Tina got out of the shower as Johnny Bonadonna got in the shower, and Tina had a towel wrapped around her, and the doorbell rang. And she went downstairs and answered the door, and the neighbor was standing there shocked at Tina with Bonadonna with a towel on, and the neighbor said, if you drop that towel, I'll give you $800. And Tina said, okay. She dropped the towel. The guy gave her $800. She put the towel and went back upstairs. Bonadonna said, who was that? She said, it was just the neighbor. And Johnny said, did he say anything about that $800 he owes me? So, pay attention to it. The look comes in a lot of ways. It comes in a lot of stages. But I close with an encouragement. Look in the mirror, set your face, be prepared for who you're going to deal with next. Because they're one of the most important people in your life, whoever they are in that next room in your life. It takes guts to stay married. There are going to be a lot of challenges between the I do's and the golden anniversary. And the people who make it are truly heroes. Whitmer said that, and it's one of my favorite quotes. I hope that some of what I've shared will be food for fun, loving, insightful, and perhaps challenging discussion between you. The point of this is not to point fingers and is not to blame, quite the contrary. If we can laugh at ourselves and laugh with each other at ourselves, we got a fighting chance. So pay attention to those looks, particularly when you're giving out. Thank y'all. Thanks to the foundation for supporting this. Always love working with you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.